into a brand new wave, drowning out the noise that's tame. Liberty whispers through the brave, breaking free from every chain. Nullify the rules they crave, crypto beats that pave the way. Anarchy with minds that's safe, algorithms new dawn to day. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride. Beyond control we take a stand, casting off the iron brand. Freedom flowing through our hands, revolution's our command. Decentralize the way we plan, all together we expand. Breaking shackles for the clan, in this journey we're unpanned. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride.
Welcome into the Legacy Ride. I always enjoy it, and I think William does too. Actually, here, we're not alone here. Welcome in, Zach. How you doing?
Man, I was exercising. I was trying to.
Oh yeah, I bet you were.
What are you trying to do? Trying to
Embarrass you?
interrupt me? Embarrass me? Sorry. What's going
It didn't
on,
work that
Andrew?
way. I don't know. I want a squirm cam.
Oh, you want the squirm cam? I'll bring the squirm cam. Oh, we are on the right studio. So
Yeah.
I am the legacy of Jennifer and Kaiser. I'm Zachary Kaiser, your El Capitan. This is Andrew Joseph, my number one. You may call him Commander
Number two.
William Riker. Or you can call him number two. That's fine. I'm fine with that. You like to take number twos a lot. So who doesn't?
Oh God, help me.
Don't get me started, man. I'm done. I'm done with the poop jokes. So we got a good one for you. And first off, is libertarianism gay?
I don't
Do
know.
people even care about liberty anymore?
I don't know. It's really up in the air right now.
It is very up in the air right now. So let's bring up our special guest and let's talk about that. Let's take off on ANCAP Air and let's bring on Derek Wills. How you doing today, sir?
Hey, what's going on?
What is going on, gentlemen? Thank you so much for your patience. I'm still embarrassed, but we're moving forward. I only 40 minutes late. I've been worse, I guess. But shit.
Hey, everyone has their days.
Yeah,
Everybody does.
I know everybody's time is precious, and I feel like shit. I appreciate you guys holding off for me. But we're here now. Let's get into it. So, Is libertarianism gay? Is that the question?
Is that the question? I think there's more to the question, but maybe that's the answer.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I guess what context we're using gay here? Are we using it like gay and retarded, or are we using it like, hey?
I think it's gay and retarded.
It could probably go either or, but I mean, so we don't piss off the hey guys, because a lot of them are cool.
Yeah,
I know a lot of them. They're really cool. Who cares? But
I'm sure you
the
do.
euphemism.
Yeah. Well, I would say that libertarianism is, if I'm being frank, I'm pretty sure that libertarianism has been hijacked by conservatives trying to be edgy and cool.
Yeah. It's an old playbook.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this actually goes back a ways. Like there's a clip of Reagan talking about how libertarian he is on 60 Minutes or some shit like that. And I remember the host saying like, "Oh, well, that's the mainstream term now is libertarian. Like it's catching on, so he's pandering to it." And that was, almost 40 years ago, maybe 40 years ago plus.
Predates
It
him
does.
is Barry Goldwater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before
Yeah, I
that,
mean,
you had Ayn Rand was talking about Wendell Willkie, during FDR's time.
Yeah.
So,
mhm. But it seems like now we're starting to see the trend go more towards like the William Buckley New Right era. That's what it seems like to me. The very edginess and like, oh, fuck it all, fuck you, we're rebels, and yeah.
Yeah.
And then you turn around and it's just the same old, same old. So is it time for politics to just be done and over with for the party? Should the party finally just call it quits?
Well, I mean, I don't know if y'all saw it. You probably did, but Jeremy Kauffman said that the LP from now on should just stop running candidates and just make the duopoly seek their endorsement. Like that matters in some way. Like that's going to be impactful.
Mhm.
So, I know that the more grassroots you get, the more of an impact the Libertarian Party actually has. So, I think that's the wrong take. I don't. I'm not a partisan. I'm not a member of the LP.
Mhm.
I couldn't give two shits about Angela and the direction of the LP and her embezzling and all that fun shit. I think that if the LP wants to actually be relevant, not this, oh, we had Trump's ear relevant, but
Mhm.
actually relevant, they need to get their shit together. And the platform's solid. Start with good messaging, get the message out there. It's funny because in 2016, when Trump first ran and the Libertarian Party put, Gary Johnson and Bill Weld, at the time I was not an
Mhm.
anarchist. And that was the first time that I voted LP.
Yeah.
And it was also the last time that I voted. but I gotta say, they actually did a halfway decent job with messaging and getting on screen for a lot of time, and that actually shows in the results.
Mhm.
Gary Johnson and Bill Weld got like 3.5%, which blows every other election, including the most recent ones, out of the water.
Mhm.
So I really do think that maybe the LP could survive, but they need to get their shit together. They need to purge out conservatives and say, look, this isn't conservative light. We're not Republicans who like weed. We
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
a very different ideology and a very different philosophy as it relates to the state. And we're all anarchists, so it's a little kind of a moot point for us. But for libertarians and small government types, I think that there is a viable path forward. They just need to do it and execute it.
are you implying we're not here to just burn trash cans in the street?
Who, anarchists or libertarians?
Anarchists.
Oh, no, the only trash that we want to burn is our own. Or maybe get a bonfire going. I don't know. Last
Yeah.
I checked, anarchists just want to be left the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Most of them do. There are those that probably want to start some shit first, but in the long scheme of things, they want to be left alone.
Yeah.
So there are those that do take the anarchist cookbook to a high degree, and they start making certain things from these recipes, and they want to act a fool, but hey, to each their own, right? So
Yeah,
whatever floats your boat.
I wouldn't call those anarchists though. I would call those. Well, I don't even know
People
what
on a
I would
watch
call
list.
those. Well, hey, now I'm on a watch list.
Hey, that's
We're
cool
all on
too.
a
I mean, hey,
we're all on a watch list, so let's just be
a
straightforward on
different
this.
type of watch
So,
list.
yeah.
Yeah.
But to be frank on that, I'm glad you brought that up there because you actually did go the extra 9 yards, or maybe the whole 10. Who knows? Ever
Mhm.
seen that movie? That was where the joke was going. Everybody, I'm horrible. But you actually did petition a Freedom of Information Act to get your FBI records not too long ago.
Yeah. Too bad it was all redacted. That was my favorite part. It's like, yeah, we have 123 pages on you. Here are 14, and of those, you get words, just random words that, yeah, there's no information here. And it's funny that one of my favorite little features of the disclosures was that they redacted my attorney's name. They left his address and they left the
Wow.
name of the firm, but they redacted the attorney that I hired. They redacted his name from me, from my request.
Wow.
I thought that was
That is
hilarious.
wild.
You would understand. I would understand the address. Sure. I could even understand the firm. Kind
That
of.
was left
Even though,
unredacted.
yeah, but the fact that everything was not redacted and his name and it's your attorney, that's
Yeah.
a
How much?
little flabbergasting.
How much or how much did that cost to get that done?
That was
Roughly.
actually free. That was free.
Oh, really? That's
yeah,
wild.
they have a like a page limit policy or something like that, and it depends on how
Mhm.
you want it. And once you go over that, I think you're just paying for the paper. It's like, I don't know. It's been a few years since I've done it. I want to say it was like 15 cents a page or something like that after
Yeah.
X number of pages. But yeah, it was free, and they sent it to me on a CD-ROM drive because
Of
we
all
live in
things.
2004. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well, at
that's
least
funny. Well, go ahead, Andrew.
I would say at least it's a little more modern media.
Yeah. I mean, they could have sent it in a manila folder with the FBI
Right.
logo on it.
Well, back to libertarianism. And actually, William brought up this point. Viva Texas, then Viva your local county, then Viva the individual. And back to libertarianism or the Libertarian Party, or maybe even the lack thereof it. What is your thoughts on the concept of township liberation, which Mike Decentralized brings this up a lot. In fact, he holds a space for everybody from across the globe on X to come and be involved and have a conversation about it every Tuesday at 3. And then on Thursday, him and Freedom Uncut do their spiel on podcast form on Thursdays. But the concept of township liberation, enough with the plugs. What is your thoughts on it? Should it be a basis of libertarians, party affiliated or not, being involved in the local level? It's just libertarians, or should we go the Kaufman route where you kind of, not Kaufman per se, but what he actually has stated, to where you build a coalition between those within the MAGA camp, the conservative camp, the liberal camp, even the leftist camp, build a consolidation of different peoples within your community and try to liberate your township locally as you work your way up.
If I'm being frank, I hate Kaufman's idea. I think that is so ass backwards, and you may as well just shut down the party at that point.
Well,
Yeah,
I think Kaufman. I think Kaufman has more to do. He's more politically asked, and he's still thinking federal. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think he's really more on the liberation aspect. So I agree with you on that. Like he's an idiot.
Yeah. I mean, there's just the notion that a political party is like, I mean, we already kind of did this, right? With the Tea Party. In 2010, the Tea Party came up. It was just this grassroots movement. And then all of a sudden it started getting a little bit more organized and Republicans started seeking grassroots endorsements. But you saw how that didn't work out because they were all like, yes, we're going to repeal Obamacare. We're going to slash the debt. We're going to get spending under control. We're going to cut spending. And they never did. They raised the debt ceiling constantly. They never repealed Obamacare, even whenever they had total control and could have done it instantly. They never did. So
Yeah.
I don't understand the point of this strategy. It's not even a meta strategy. It's just a stupid strategy of, yeah, let's get the duopoly's endorsement. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you. George Carlin said it best. It's a big club. You ain't in it, and they don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you. All they want to do is tax the shit out of you. So, okay, yeah, they'll talk great, but I mean, hell, there are plenty of Republicans that actually sound pretty good on the campaign trail, and then they get into office, and oh well, I guess all that shit went out the window.
Yeah.
I kind of think that this is more of, I think this is Kaufman just trying to ride the coattails of Angela a little bit and spiking the football over Ross being freed, because that's the one thing that they try to claim credit for. I don't think credit is due to Angela's efforts. I think it's far more credit is due to Thomas Massey on that front, but okay, let's say it was all Angela's doing. Okay, it doesn't actually change anything. I've said it a lot. I've gotten a lot of shit for it. And yes, Ross Ulbricht should have been freed and should have been pardoned. And it's wonderful that Trump did that. But
yes,
none of the laws that put him in prison have been repealed. There are no reforms being even discussed. So no bills filed. Nobody's ever talking about it. And at the end of the day, Trump is doing some very damaging things to a lot of other people, but at least the libertarians get to say, at least Ross is free. Okay, yes, that's one drop of an injustice that has been removed from an ocean of injustices of the past, of the present, and of the future that are going to take place. So I don't understand how you can classify that as a win for liberty. It's not. It's a net loss, and I know that there are things that, that kind of weigh more than others, as far as if one act is pro-liberty and one act is pro-tyranny, and those can weigh differently. So, but, at the end of the day, if you're not getting a net gain of liberty, which we haven't since God knows how long, probably since the founding of the country, then you can't say that it's a win, because it's a net loss. So I don't know what the Libertarian Party should do, and quite frankly, I don't give a fuck. There's a lot of black flag in me, nihilist in me, collapsitarian in me that's just like, fuck it, let it burn.
Yeah.
You sound like Sean Collins, a man with a lot of things to say. He shut down his pod because he's done with the bullshit.
Yeah,
you make that point. It reminds me of I'm going to defer to Devin Stack from Blackpill. He makes the point. The politicians, they're like, it's like playing a video game character. You're the video game character. You're the main focus, but everything else, background, it's just NPCs. We're the NPCs to these people, because they're the ones making all the decisions, and they don't suffer any of the consequences.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, and I'd like y'all to chime in, but speaking of the NPC situation, on a consciousness level, spiritual level, what are your thoughts on the possibility that there are individuals out there, human beings, that really don't have a quote unquote a soul? They're not really conscious. They're just here as a husk, and they are the worker bees or lack thereof, and they just exist and comply and do what they're told because they're just here. I mean, and there's only a few of us that are open up very consciously.
I wouldn't quite phrase it like that. I understand the logic behind the conclusion, but I would say that the NPC is the product of mass brainwashing and conditioning. And it's really hard to break that level of conditioning. I think that if the state were abolished and they didn't have anything else to rely on, I think there would be a fair amount of them that would be like, okay, I need to start thinking from myself, and the synapses would start firing, and they would be like, okay, I need to figure out what I need to do to protect what's mine, to protect my family. There would definitely be others that does not compute, syntax error 404 not found, and yeah, it's a little heartless, but they would perish. And while tragic, you know, the state and the products of the state should not exist. And I know that I'm going to get so much shit for that. And I know that sounds so heartless, but we should all encourage problem solving, critical thinking, and self-ownership. And you can't do that if the masses are programmed against it. You know, the masses are programmed to repeat the same talking points. What about the roads? What about police? What about bridges? And you know, what about this and what about that? And it's like, you really think that we haven't thought of this, and that there aren't, you know, solutions that can be created in the absence of the state? It's sad, and I don't know how to do it. And that's where my kind of collapsitarianism kind of comes in. You know, I love agorism and I love the ideas behind it, but I don't think that it's fast enough. It's something that's good for the present for me individually. But you know, that's not going to abolish the state overnight. I would love for anarchists all across the world to gather in a centralized location and create, you know, anarchy land where we all just coexist and live. But we all know that the federal government would Waco that area as soon as humanly fucking possible, because how dare us not pay our extortion fees? So, yeah. So sorry, I kind of went off on a really bad tangent there.
That's all right.
So you believe in utopia?
No,
You are
Liberland. We're moving to Liberland. Fly us over there.
Anarchy is utopian, absolutely. Yeah, because everybody's gonna be. There's not gonna be any evil in the world. I really hate when people insinuate that. And honestly, and you know, it's an old quote, but you know, statism is really the utopian effort, right? You know, the just the right people in just the right amount of power, with using just the right amount of violence will perfect society. And it's like, what's really utopian? Everybody being left the hell alone and owning yourself and owning your decisions and owning the consequences, good and bad, of everything that you do, or some, you know, omnipotent state dictating rules and edicts of things that you can and cannot do, and if you break any of those, they will invoke violence against you. I'm sorry, but statism is far more of a utopian idea than anarchy ever could dream of being.
Well, and that we all live anarchy as individuals with our families, in our households, every day of our life. Every time we go out and make a deal, that's anarchy. Every time we go interact with somebody, that's anarchy. Every time we borrow something, that's anarchy. So, I mean, we're all living anarchy. But why is it so hard to get that concept through people on a larger scale and realize, hey, you're already doing this?
Yeah,
I just want, I want to ring them.
You know what else? People, you know, it's been brought up a few times, but it's not brought up enough, I don't think. Anarchy exists between states too. So, like, yeah, the UN exists, but it doesn't have any real power. But you know, relationships between the United States government and dare I say it, Israel or Egypt or France, or take your pick, it doesn't matter. But they cooperate on their own. So why can anarchy exist for states but not for individuals?
I mean, if Pakistan and India or India can exist without going to war constantly, and they hate each other,
Right. And let's
why
not
can't?
forget, war itself is actually a statist phenomenon because one, it's incredibly expensive. Two, it relies heavily on the conditioning of your people to say, hey, look, you're loyal to us, right? You love your country, right? Well, I need you to go and murder these other people for our, national interests or whatever the fuck you want to say. And we're going to pay you for it. You can't do that if you're not robbing everybody. Like, there's no venture capital firm out there that's going to be like, hey, I want to take over, this other company. I know it's it's just their land and their assets, but who wants to join up and do that? And everybody would be like, you want me to die for you for what? How about you go fuck yourself? It just wouldn't, any like disagreements would be very necessarily limited to like individual disputes between individuals. So like torts, and you don't have to use violence for that. Hell, we don't do it typically. So,
and that's the thing. Speaking of tort, I mean, that's the only thing in our very public litigation system that is relatively private. So we have a system right there that's very privatized within the public sector. I mean, why not transfer it into arbitration standard or a private court standard? Have a mixture of arbitration and private courts.
I mean, arbitration and mediation outside of the court system exists right now.
Exactly.
I know this because I am a qualified arbiter and mediator. I've been through the classes. I could literally go and help, people from a legal standpoint resolve their differences outside of court. Why can't that just be the norm? I mean, everybody works for themselves, and you don't have to have a massive firm to arbitrate or mediate. You don't have to have a monopoly on violence to arbitrate or mediate. And people don't realize that in anarchy, like one's reputation becomes like their most valuable asset. And I know that, in our current day and age, we talk about social credit as this very bad thing. And believe me, in the current context, it's horrible and should be avoided at all costs. Mm-hmm. But in anarchy, it actually is a, kind of a social credit type thing. And hell, you could put it on the blockchain if you wanted to. But, if your reputation is everything, you're going to do everything you can to protect it, which means that it behooves you to act properly and not fuck people over on deals and not rob them and not cheat them and, be true to your word. And if there are disputes, you deal with them in good faith. Because if you don't, then, hey, that's a black mark on your reputation. And then people will be less likely to work with you and partner with you in the future.
I can understand that.
You had something else to say, Andrew?
No, I was just saying I understand what he was saying.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I did say. Oh, go ahead, Derek.
No, I saw this comment. I want to come back to it. It was from I Am For I Am. It said, please describe how society is ready for anarchy. Oh. Yeah, that one right there.
I was about ready to say. So you caught it too.
Yeah. It's a good question. The thing, and we kind of alluded to it earlier. Anarchy happens every time you buy Girl Scout cookies, or every time you buy groceries, or voluntarily interact with some other person without the state's involvement. We can do that on and one thing that kind of Mansa West is right. A lot of individuals are afraid of the word anarchy, and it's sad because it's definitely conditioning. It's part, it's talked about in public schools and the indoctrination camps, And you can tell because every person that's against anarchy has literally the same talking points. But I forgot where I was going. I lost my train of thought here.
Oh,
well-
how does anarchy work effectively?
Well,
Yeah,
I can
And
answer that.
are we ready? Are we ready for
I mean,
is society ready?
It's here right now. You go to the grocery store. If somebody puts a golf or a buggy up after they're done at the grocery store, is that should you go to jail for not putting it in the stall? Should you put it in jail for putting it in the back of the parking lot instead of taking the 5 extra steps? Yes or no? You shouldn't. It's not it's not as much of a boogeyman as people make it out to be.
Yeah. Anarchy really is as simple as buying lemonade from the little girl on the corner who's just trying to raise money because she wants to buy a toy or something like that. And this right here is the problem. I'm so glad you brought this up. The state of lawlessness is such a triggering word in the definition, the absence of order. That's been that's how definitions have been changed throughout. Oh, there it is, utopian society of it. This is such bullshit. Anarchy never meant that. It has evolved to mean that because the state wants it to mean that, and so we condition people to make it mean that. And it really, if people understood anarchy, it would be such a massive threat to the state's power because people would start asking very tough questions that I don't even think the most silver-tongued politician could really effectively answer. And if you're at that level and you're asking those types of questions, you're not going to be fooled by some bullshit answer because you're asking an intellectual question, a self-serving question, and a question that deserves to be answered properly. And you're not going to be fooled by the non-answers that politicians typically give. And that's why it was important to condition everybody to think that without us, you won't be able to have this law and order society. You won't be able to have this, you won't be able to have roads, with the roads. And when people bring up the roads, I laugh. I'm like, have you driven on the fucking roads lately? They suck. They're not great.
Go to Cincinnati. That's what I say. Go to the west side of Cincinnati. You'll see what the roads are. They're terrible.
Yeah. And also, you don't wind up $37 trillion in debt for some fucking roads.
Right.
No. Roads are cheap compared to the shit that the government spends money on.
Inflation is the real anarchy.
Mm.
You mean, wait, hold up. You mean it's not cheap to send condoms to all the gay Hamas members in Yemen?
I mean,
the fuck that came from? It's so weird and random.
Well, I just know that what didn't isn't that one of the
USAID's.
The USA did was send condoms to Hamas, or not Hamas, but I think it was actually like Africa, but still. One thing on their budget was condoms.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's going to put and while it's good that was cut, not because condoms are bad, I think that everyone, if they're promiscuous, should probably protect themselves, but whatever.
Well, yeah.
Do what you do. But,
crack pipes at home, condoms abroad. That's our policy. The last 8 years.
Free markets.
But while none of that money should have been spent that way, at current rates, I'm just going to pull up the debt clock here. USDebtClock.org. Let us see where we're at. Last I checked, in 4 years, we should be at around $52 trillion in debt. So we're at 36.4 currently. Let's fast forward to 2029. At current rates, the U.S. national debt should be 47 point. Oh, can I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the preset tab, and we'll throw it up on the screen.
Share screen. Let's see here. Window. Here we go. Yeah. So at current spending rates, $47.2 trillion. I do not see this making a huge dent. You know,
No.
if
If anything,
so,
I can see it eventually. The spending's going to get more excessive for other things. That's all. And that's all they're doing.
Yeah, it's just reallocating money. They're not cutting actual real spending. They're cutting it from this thing and advertising, hey, we cut this thing, but they're just going to reallocate it elsewhere.
And then of course, if this whole ordeal with the United States taking over the operations in Gaza really becomes a reality, then that's just going to cause even more wasteful spending. And so now you're probably looking at more like in the 50s at this point by 2029 rather than around 47 trillion. So it's inevitably, I mean, it's collapsing itself. And I think that's the design of the Federal Reserve. I mean, to go as basic as it comes.
Yep, I agree. The fact that this doesn't actually scare the shit out of people. The Federal Reserve alone should scare the shit out of people. And you know, it really shouldn't take that many intelligence points, IQ points, for somebody to ask, okay, if banks run out of money, they get it from the Federal Reserve. And if the Federal Reserve, they never run out of money, so they just create it. And that's supposedly stable? Like, it doesn't take that much to start really questioning what the Federal Reserve's role actually is. And obviously, that's a rabbit hole that a lot of people and everybody here definitely, but once you start down, you just keep finding more and more shit that is absolutely insane to, but here's the thing. If Elon Musk and Donald Trump really wanted to tear it all down and make meaningful cuts, they wouldn't be focusing on like U.S. aid or even foreign aid for that matter. They would be focusing on the military industrial complex and the Federal Reserve and Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. But they're not
sacred cows.
Yeah, they aren't being talked about. They aren't even being whispered about because, like you said, they're sacred cows. They're not going to get touched. So the meaningful changes aren't being talked about. But cool, we cut funding to give condoms to people in Africa.
Basically.
Well, I guess it's better than cocaine and quails in Japan.
I mean,
They should have let us keep the Quaaludes at least.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a drug right there.
I have not had the pleasure, but I've heard things.
That was my grandfather's favorite drug.
Oh yeah.
To put it plain and simple. So and it messed you up. So it was a big thing. It was actually one of the biggest things back in like the 70s.
Yeah,
and the 80s.
I learned quite a bit about Quaaludes from watching Wolf of Wall Street, so that's where my education comes from.
So if we all decided to become Wall Street investors, we could be high right now with a bunch of hookers and blow and Quaaludes.
Yeah,
man, that's what I want to be when I grow up. Good thing I'm in crypto.
Yeah.
So, and actually, speaking of crypto, that's a good transition there, Andrew. We mentioned the Fed and its inevitability of its collapse. It's actually collapsing itself because that's the whole point. So the IMF can move in and do its thing. But for a better example in transition away from Fed policies, would a DAO a decentralized
Autonomous organization.
autonomous organization on the blockchain, would that be a better solution than what we have now
I
when it
think
comes to the Fed's
anything.
control?
I think anything. Well, I don't know too much about the DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. I don't. It's actually my first time hearing this term, so I'm a bit ignorant here.
Well,
So
Andrew, would you like to do a rundown? After, yeah, I'll let you get to your final point, Derek. But Andrew, would you like to do a rundown
It
on
was
DAO?
introduced by the Ethereum virtual machine when it first launched, and it's basically it's a decentralized and it's a self activating contract maker, and as long as it's effectively programmed, that you shouldn't have the need for any intervention in how things operate. People will step in and make a contract, and somebody will come in and fill up the need for that contract. And there's no centralized corrupting of it at all.
So if I learned anything from reading Hijacking Bitcoin, you said something here that I think has a bit more nuance to it, and that is if it's properly programmed.
Yes.
And just because something's open source doesn't mean that it is decentralized. Like
That's
Bitcoin
right.
is a very, very good example of this. It's controlled by a small group of devs, and any actual changes have to be approved by them. I mean, you can fork Bitcoin all day and create your own crypto using the original source code and then make whatever changes you want, but it's not to Bitcoin, it's to whatever you're creating.
Yeah.
And so if I understand this correct, is this you said this was put up by Ethereum?
The original launch of Ethereum, they had one, and
Okay.
they had made a mistake in the way it was dealt, and somebody exploited it and drained the organization of a majority of its money, and so that's how Ethereum and Ethereum Classic forked.
Gotcha.
Is that Ethereum Classic kept the original code and committed to the original principles of Ethereum, but when they forked, they went and directly intervened and retroactively resupplied the people of their money.
Okay. Gotcha. So that sounds scary. Especially if the original, I mean, obviously who is going to be the one putting forth the DAO for
Well, you need another Satoshi Nakamoto type of environment where they're anonymously contributing in it and they're never reintroducing it again. Like,
yeah,
it's a one and done kind of thing.
Yeah. What was our original question on this? I completely forgot. I'm in learning mode now.
Oh, you're good.
The original question was between the traditional organizations of government and public sector, and even certain private sector, in replacement of blockchain tech with decentralized autonomous organizations.
So whenever there's something like that, you always err on the side of what the market wants. So if the market wants it and the market likes it and they deliver with the market demand, then it's a great thing. If it doesn't, then it's a terrible thing that should go away. And you could say that for literally anything. And that's kind of the beauty of the market is it is self-policing. So my answer is sure if the market wants it, no if the market doesn't. But the only way to test that is to put it to market and see what happens. So, if it succeeds, let it succeed. If it fails, let it fail.
Amen. I mean, that's
another
what we're
another
here
way
for.
to let me get this a little bit like a more open-minded kind of interpretation of what DAO is. Say you have an old video game, right? Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. I think Link's Awakening. Yeah, Link's Awakening. That's an old Game Boy game.
Yeah.
They released it once, I mean, I'm sure they probably did a few like minor updates, but it wasn't online. You couldn't just go back and update it online. And then you have a more modern game, well, where they re-released it like for the Nintendo Switch, but it was online. And if there was a security vulnerability for the new Switch version, they could go back and, without your permission, just update it because it's for the protection of their ecosystem. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, so consent's a big thing. It should always be a big thing. And I know right now we're, every time we sign up for a new website, we just kind of skip over the terms and conditions, but we really shouldn't because we're agreeing to things and giving our consent to things that information was provided for, but might piss us off if they ever cash in on it. So that's an important aspect of it as well. I don't think that from an ethical standpoint, a company should, offer that type of thing automatically, but that's just me. I wouldn't run my company that way. I would say, look, we're offering these types of updates. Here's what it does. If you want to update, great. If not, then, more power to you. I don't like being able to give somebody access to anything of mine that they can come in and make changes willy-nilly, without even informing me, two, without my consent. But the consent thing, and it kind of goes away whenever you blindly agree. You click accept without really reading what you're consenting to.
Which is a big problem in today's day and age, and why a lot of people get into certain debt traps.
Yeah, and
especially
honestly,
with mortgage.
Yeah, and honestly, I blame the state for it. Like, I blame the government for basically everything. But, why do we have these really long terms of use and end user license agreements? And it's because, the government has created this system where companies have to put in all this legal jargon, and, they can leverage the state's power whenever they need to. And it goes just way over our head. And, we're like, well, I want this thing. So there can't be anything bad here. The government wouldn't allow that. So it puts us into this false sense of security. So we click accept, not realizing that we're agreeing to some really bad shit that we shouldn't agree to. And if we actually were asked directly, do you want to agree to this specifically? We would be like, hell no, I don't want to. But we do whenever we just blindly click accept.
And I think that's the brilliance of a DAO-based system and smart contracts, is it gives that power to the individual, and you can come together and elect through a division of these smart contracts within the blockchain to make certain changes. And if one person wants to make this change, but then they see that, and then the next three see that this change is kind of stupid and they don't want it, then they can go back and they can alter it and fix the incorrection, and then we're full centered again, and then we go back to the drawing board and then the next cycle.
That sounds like that sounds great as long as it's properly implemented. And I think that people are figuring out how to properly implement it, which means that it would be a great solution to whatever you needed to apply it to. So, yay, go DAOs.
Right.
But what we need now is to actually focus on it a little bit. And as far as the blockchain goes, in the medium of exchange idea surrounding it, and to have competitive monies that are circulating all around, how do we get it to where most people will be able to click in their heads and say, hey, this is a utility? How do we make it user friendly for the normies?
Well, we should discourage meme coins. Right now, I mean, right now, everybody talks about two things: Bitcoin and Doge. Occasionally, people talk about XRP, but I mean, nobody talks about the tokens that are created to provide real utility. And there are so many out there that do, like GraphLink is one, Chainlink is another, Realio Network, Near, Xano, yeah, that's another great one. I mean, there are so many that Monero, just create all of these wonderful things that contribute to the digital space that seek to improve everybody's livelihood. I mean, it's getting to the point where whenever there's a startup that starts to become successful, that I could see them saying, "Hey, instead of doing an IPO for our company stock, let's get into the crypto side and do that as a way to build equity and and kind of treat it similar to, but different, as needed." I could definitely see that coming in. And honestly, I think it would be a great, here's the beautiful thing about cryptocurrency. It has the potential to make both fiat and stocks obsolete, if you think about it. And, that's kind of a beautiful thing whenever you think about the power that actually is, making current understandings of money or fiat, really, that it's not going to replace gold and silver or anything like that, but they'll coexist very nicely together for sure.
Well, I mean, it's proven that 24-hour market cycles internationally will work every time. So I don't see why we can't trade that way with traditional stocks, even on a public ledger like the Bitcoin ledger, or whichever one a person would prefer to do it on.
Yeah. And no, that's a very valid point. It just, but the good thing is the world is waking up to crypto, although I think they're kind of focusing on in the wrong direction. I
saw a graph today. I'm sorry, I should have saved it. It was showing the internet adoption versus crypto adoption, and we're outpacing the adoption of the internet.
That's
in the
insane.
graph.
That's crazy. And there are so many tokens out there that it's beautiful to watch. It really is. Even whenever you see something like go kaput, like Luna, whenever people mismanage what they were promising on.
I'm going to push back a little bit on that, because the people behind that project actually spent their entire Bitcoin, reserve trying to stabilize the currency before while it was capitulating. So it's not like they just said, "Oh, sorry about your luck." They threw everything they had at it.
No. What I'm saying is that seeing essentially the free market at work, where you have cryptocurrencies fail. That's what I mean by that, is that
okay.
It's not just hey, this go up, this go down a little. It's holy shit, this went to nothing. So Monero is an agorist's best friend. So is Tor and Monero. And that would be dark web for the normies out there that don't know what Tor is.
Right. Zach's having a lot of fun doing engineering.
Yeah, trying to figure out engineering, so I'm not covering Derek's face. So, but
it's okay. It's not that attractive anyway.
We're all ugly here. So, and yep, beautiful. So, by the way, Wyoming recognizes a DAO as a legal entity, like an INC, LLC, LP, etc. That is interesting. And Andrew, do you have anything to say about Wyoming?
It's beautiful this time of year. You still live out there. It is actually a very beautiful place.
Honestly, that whole area, Colorado, Wyoming, is just breathtakingly gorgeous. So, I don't. Can you even buy Monero on
You
any
can.
exchanges anymore?
Not on
I
major
haven't
exchange.
looked on it. Yeah, I haven't looked on centralized exchanges in a while.
Mm-hmm.
You could.
Yeah.
You can probably swap it on like Trocador or something like that for
Bisc.
I don't. Huh?
It's yeah. How about Uniswap, or is it not on that anymore?
Uniswap only does ERC20, right?
I believe
Yeah.
so. Bisc
Yeah,
is
So, yeah, it would be.
Monero's its own chain, so
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bisc is a decentralized exchange you can run on your computer.
The comments here are on fire.
For legal purposes, I have never used Monero to evade paying taxes. That is, hey, honestly, tax evasion is self-defense, or actually, tax avoidance is self-defense.
Yes, tax avoidance. Tax evasion could get you locked up for a long time. But there are ways that you can avoid taxes. I mean, and one such way is if you have the means, you can go to nomadcapitalist.com, where they can actually help you offshore some of your assets.
Right.
Mean, and reduce taxes so you're not paying so much of your life to the government that you live under at the moment. And potentially you go to where you're treated best. You can get yourself a dual passport and leave.
You know what? What was it?
I think-
Where was I going with this?
Was it a KU coin that you could buy Monero, or that might have? I know in the past you used to be able to buy them, but Americans can't buy a KU coin anymore.
Prax made a valid point. It's hard to buy Monero on a central exchange because it's all KYC. What's the point of a privacy coin if you're going to buy it on something that takes your ID and mails you all your tax forms at the end of the year? Speaking of, I keep hearing a lot of people saying, just claim exempt and don't file. You'll be fine. That honestly scares the shit out of me. I've already got a file that's 123 pages long in the FBI. I really don't want
you can buy it on KU coin.
You can?
You can, yeah, but like I said, we're Americans now, so you can't do it anymore.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. That's another thing. They should just stop fucking with shit. The government should just stop it. Let me buy my shit from whoever I want. Stop taking, stop taking from me whenever I sell. And, if I ever leave the country, don't say I owe taxes on assets I haven't stole like Roger Ver did. That's such a tragedy.
It's terrible.
And Elon saying, "Oh, he gave up his citizenship.
That's
membership
bullshit.
That was a dagger right there. Like that now they're definitely not looking into it because Elon's in Trump's ear. And honestly, Trump is so he can be so persuaded because he's an idiot. That I mean, look at the
you compliment the man.
So, but I mean, you could get somebody into his ear. I mean, look what we did look what happened with Ross. I mean, he actually had all 4 years of his original term. He could have pardoned him then. Why not then? And why now? Well, because he had the inkling of this libertarian base that was fed up with their own infighting and and everything that's going on. And it was for voters. And he tricked them, but he actually gave them their promise at the same time. So you could get somebody to slip in there, whisper in his ear and be like, free Roger Ver, pardon Roger Ver. But when you have somebody like Elon that is in his ear saying that publicly on Twitter, or X, that Roger Ver, he denounced his citizenship, so who cares? I mean, that kind of sticks the dagger right in the back.
And let's face it, it all has to do with the fact that they want a chunk of what he has. It's all about taxes. It's not like he, it's not like he harmed anybody. He never did. They're just like, hey, you have assets, we want some of it. And whenever you renounce your U.S. citizenship, the IRS taxes you as if you sold all of your assets that day. And that's why they're going after him. And it's a fucking travesty that you can't even relinquish your citizenship without having to.
It's not even a law. It's just a preference that they have. They have a lot of preferences. Yeah, there's no law on the book saying that they have to do that. That's just something that they're doing after as a preference.
Well, theoretically, unless they finally changed it in the tax codes, finally revised it out of it, but theoretically, it says in the tax codes that taxation, the income tax is voluntary. Yeah. So if we could get more people to know that, then we could actually have a humongous tax revolt where nobody files their taxes, and we could end the IRS that way.
No, we have to let Daddy Trump do it and replace the income tax with the national sales tax and tariffs. Don't you know that? We don't pay tariffs. I don't know if you know this, but really, it's the other countries. They're paying the tariffs.
Remember, we're playing a video game.
we don't pay those.
That sounded a little bit like Kamala Harris. Well, Ukraine is a little country and Russia is a bigger country. So it's astonishingly hilarious and sad at the same time that we're getting played and nobody really sees it, besides the few of us that actually can think for ourselves.
Yeah, well, I think that people would see it if they weren't so conditioned to, believe everything that the state tells them. I mean, keep in mind, if you're arguing with a conditioned individual, you can highlight the blatant hypocrisies of their own position, and they will still justify it because they've been conditioned to.
Mm-hmm.
You can't talk ill about it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's just like the Stanford prison experiment.
Yeah,
you give somebody an inkling of some sort of authority, which we did with a word I can't really say on YouTube. So the C word, still to this day, which is sad. But the with the scamdemic, I mean that gave a lot of people the inkling of this perceived authority to say, where have you been? Do you have this and that? Put on that mask. Stay away from me. It's like, man, I just want to be left the fuck alone. Shut up. If you want to stay away from me, that's fine. 6 feet, great. Make it 25,000 feet. Stay away from me. So,
this question, Prax, you're kind of a son of a bitch for asking this. Speaking of tariffs, what is your preferable form of taxation if you were extorted to just pay one? That's like asking, what's my favorite way to get murdered? Or what's my favorite way to be raped? Like there is no favorite way. I'm not gonna pick one.
Wait. Here's what got more to say. Hold on. Let's see what he's got to say.
Well, I mean, while Prax is down there giving his next spiel for this, I mean, at least give me a kiss on the lips if you're gonna bang me in the ass, Big Daddy government. I mean, really.
No, they can't do that. You owe them or they will murder you. That's how that works.
No,
I would pick getting raped by a small Asian dude over a big black buff dude. That's. I'm not gonna comment on that.
Yeah, well, do they have to kiss you on the lips? prefer
I am says I
yeah.
prefer a sales tax on new goods, non-food items. Then it's purely a voluntary tax system. Yeah, but keep in mind those who institute tax systems can change it whenever they want. So they could sell
Typically.
it to you like this, and then
They're
in
they're
three,
architects,
5
right?
years, yeah, in 5 years, then it's no more just that. Yeah.
And then he finishes it off strong. All taxation is theft. But yeah, I mean, a voluntary system would be great. But I mean, I don't know. Let's pick your brain a little bit. How would we be able to transition to a more voluntary style of tax? Make people think that they're paying for services to Big Daddy, but in reality, it's voluntary. The
I
projects.
I think it's impossible to compete the conditioning of statism. I think that, and I could be completely wrong in this, but I think that the only way to do it is like having discussions like this to anybody who wants to hear them.
Hmm.
Writing and reading things and sharing messages to people who want to receive them. But that's the key, is they have to want to receive them. It's like trying to get an addict to see their problems. If they don't see the problems themselves, then they're just going to pawn it off and be closed off to anything because you said they need to do X, Y, or Z.
Hmm.
But if they are able to see the problem and identify it, that's why they say that the first step in recovery is admitting you have a problem, because that's the hardest thing to do. And it's something I wish people would do more of, is admit it's okay to be wrong. It's okay
Yeah.
to not know things. It's okay to change your mind on things. It's okay to reluctantly change a position to something that you held because you found out that it's actually hypocritical to your larger philosophy. I've
Hmm.
done that. I did that when I was writing my book, man. When I started, I was a statist. I believed in capital punishment, and I believed in immigration controls. And as I was, getting more information, I realized, oh wow, this is actually contradictory on so many levels that I never thought about
Hmm.
before. Um, and being able to admit that is not a bad thing. That's how you grow and improve. And without that, then you just may as well live a very stale life. Hell, even right now, I'm of the anarcho-capitalist philosophy, but I prefer more, the term voluntarist now, but it doesn't brand as well. So, there's that. But,
Yeah.
while I like free market principles and applications, I'm not going to tell a society of anarcho-communists that they're doing anarchy wrong if everything that they're doing is voluntary. It's not my cup of tea. I wouldn't want to live in that type of society. But if everybody over there is happy and they're, nobody's actually getting their rights trampled and they're voluntarily associating in that way, well, I can't say you're fucked up because you're not doing anarchy the way that I want to do anarchy. That's the beautiful thing
Yep.
about anarchy. It's we all can share ideas, and even if we disagree, we can test them out in various different ways. And if they work, they work,
Hmm.
and if they don't, they don't. And if they work and you don't like it, well, guess what? You don't have to associate with them.
Exactly.
It's crazy, and I wish more people would just be receptive to the idea that, it's okay to be wrong and it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to listen to new ideas with an open mind.
Yeah. And actually, William wants to add on to that. Why doesn't the term voluntarist work? I I think it's his name, but go on, Derek.
I think he's asking, like, instead of saying the word
Instead of
anarchy, we use
anarchist,
voluntarians.
which
Because I think that people associate it with volunteering, and
oh
that's also anarchy, but they don't
yeah,
associate it like that. And
yeah.
you know I'm okay with using the term voluntarist instead of anarchist, but I also would love to destigmatize the word anarchy and get people to realize that anarchy and hierarchy share the very same root. Anarchy, hierarchy, and monarchy all share the very same Greek root, and they all just have a couple of different meanings. Mono, one, monarchy, single ruler. Hierarchy, heirs, multiple rulers in different ways, and then anarchy without rulers. It's not that difficult. And just being open really is what I wish people would do. I think that you can use whatever terms you want if it makes it more palatable. There's nothing wrong with that, but at the end of it, once they come to that conclusion, if you've been using voluntarism as a substitute for the word anarchy for all of your discussions, at the end of it, if they realize that they're actually synonymous and you can interchange them, then it's lost the stigma and we've won. And so that's a good thing.
And I got an example of that actually. I forget exactly how I ran into this older lady, but we got into political discussion, and she started giving me her spiel of what she's kind of offended of what this country's becoming, and she was of the conservative idea, and I started kind of talking to her about about free markets and voluntarism and free exchange and the issues with the monetary system. She was actually listening to it. She was, and then I as soon as I let her know, like, oh, by the way, I'm an anarchist, her eyes widened. And then she's like, I would have never thought about that because you seem so chill. I'm like, here, let me tell you what anarchy really means. We're doing anarchy right now. We're in a relationship. And she's like, you know what? That makes a little bit of sense. So I like to say to this day, and that was probably like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I like to say maybe this day I changed an old woman into an anarchist. So from a conservative to an anarchist, probably not, but I mean, but just little things like that, like that's what we need. We need to have great discourse, realize that, hey, we want the same thing. And then we need to change the definition and let people know, hey, I'm an anarchist. And so are you. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
So,
geez, Zach, you're talking to Stern about politics. What do you do with your life?
I was at work, man.
Oh, okay. That's a different thing. Yeah, that's definitely a safe environment to do it at.
It's really not, but hey, it happened. So, so Prax again, voluntary. Bring that up. Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, voluntarism is Prax. You were on it today, man. Voluntarism is underlying philosophy behind anarcho-capitalism. It is based on consent, volunteering, and it is the only philosophy that doesn't legitimize aggression. He just continues, man. This is a better way to introduce normies in your view. Fair enough. It doesn't scare everybody away and make them think you are an edgy teenager who wants to be controversial. But what if I want to be controversial? What if I want to be an edgy?
I was just about to say, what if I want to be an edgy teenager? Let me have this. I'm 17, damn it.
Well, then go sign up to wrestle for WWE.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, we could all be Logan Paul. We could have money and we get to act like edgy teenagers, and we got a big old contract with WWE.
That's right.
Good for him. Good for him. So if you introduce normies to our ideology this way, it puts the burden over to them to justify why they should aggress against, I guess, innocence. Yeah. Why is theft legit when it is the state? You want to take this, Derek?
No, I think that's a valid point. It bringing normies in without using the anarchy word, it's fine. It's a good approach. I try and overuse the word anarchy so that way it gets
Mhm.
destigmatized. But if somebody wants to approach it with using voluntarism, that's fine, and it's a valid point to say. Once you introduce the ideas and you get the ball rolling, then you can start asking, do you think that we should use aggression for X, Y, and Z? And why is it okay for the state to rob you whenever I can't? What gives the state the authority to have a say over a percentage of your labor or a percentage of the goods you buy or the services you buy?
Mhm.
Nothing. Or the gains you made on investments? Nothing. And that is a great approach, and I really appreciate it. Prax is, he said, he's been on fire, just awesome in
There's
the comments.
a
Yeah.
technical term. It's called the balance of power.
So, and speaking of balance of power, as we'll start wrapping up because we've gone way over the time that we try to go. We always go over, so which is great
Yeah.
because it means we're getting the conversation out. But speaking of balance of power, what is going on with the Libertarian Party and the Democratic National Committee in their chairs? Is it just
Uh,
are we seeing the collapse? Uh,
we could only hope. I don't know. I don't believe anything until it happens anymore.
I think it's the Peter principle, where you revert to your most stable position and then try to reemerge over a period of time. I think that's what they're doing. But I mean, they got a long ways to find that stability, and I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens.
I just think it's kind of hysterical that the DNC elected David Hogg as the vice chair. So I'm gonna hope that it's the beginning of a domino effect and the Democrats are gone. Because
I
that's
thought
gonna
that
be
was I thought that was something like from Babylon Bee when I first saw it. I am not gonna lie, I thought it was fake. I couldn't. That shit was so funny. But honestly, from a strategic standpoint, it actually makes a lot of sense, and it's actually a pretty good move for their base.
actually it is, especially
Yeah,
capturing the young crowd.
yeah.
So
Like from a strategic standpoint, it's actually a really solid move. You got to hand it to him.
mhm.
But I mean, David Hogg is David Hogg, so I mean,
Yeah, so
that's just funny.
strategically it's good, but the fact that it's David Hogg, I think it might backfire. So I honestly think it might be good night Democrats. But we'll
Well,
see.
we'll see.
We'll see.
Good
So
night, woke light.
mm, so and then one final question, and we'll end on the funniest thing of them all, because taxation is theft. Is Trump
Extortion.
going to abolish the income tax in the replacement of a 500% tariff on everybody?
No, that would destroy our economy.
Of course.
What little economy we have left, because
Mhm,
we're only strong by reference to the rest of the world. We're not strong
mhm.
by the standard of what a strong economy actually is. So, but no, he's not going to do that. And even if he did somehow actually replace or repeal the income tax, again, he's not repealing the 16th Amendment. So anybody at any time after can come back and just reinstitute it. And then you're going to be
Yeah.
stuck with income tax, tariffs, national sales tax, and a tax every time you wipe your ass. So,
Mhm. And the only way to really repeal the 16th, even though it was illegally ratified, so it's not really fully ratified, he'd have to go through the courts anyway. So, or Congress would have to ratify another amendment that repeals it. So,
or
and
you'd
that
have to
ain't
get a
happening.
convention of states. You just don't have the
Yeah,
numbers there to make it happen.
I forgot that strategy. Yeah, the convention of states, but yeah, I don't think any state really cares at this point.
No.
So the red states have their team. They got Washington right now, and the blue states just are scheming to figure out how do we subvert Trump. That's about it. So
Yeah.
and they have their own issues. So, but this has been a great conversation, though, and thank you guys in the comments for joining in, chime in, especially Prax and William Manza. This has been awesome. And anything you want to add? Questions, concerns, rebuttals, jokes, Andrew?
I always put Roger over freerogernow.org. Let's just hope we get some kind of action from the top that Trump actually makes a good solid decision and lets him go.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, and then Derek, plug away. Where can everybody find you? Obviously X, but where else can everybody find you?
I mean, I have an Instagram. I don't post a lot on it. I mainly just send reels to my wife from it. But I am on Instagram. I also have a Facebook page. Again, it's not something that I interact with a lot. So I spend more time sending reels to my wife on Instagram than I do on my Facebook page. So but also I got my book on Amazon. It's called The Liberty Solution. It's on Amazon and Audible, Kindle format, paperback, and then audiobook on Audible. I need to get it in Barnes and Noble. I know that there's a process for it. I haven't done it yet, and I need to, but that's where you can find me. I also, on my Twitter page, on my X page, you'll click the articles tab. I got a lot of really good articles for various anarchy type discussions and topics, and a few personal ones as well, like my whole FBI story that is there, and yeah, that's about me.
Fantastic. One more thing though, from Tuthar Wars Guy 94. I think he had a question way back in the day on a past stream, and I think it had something to do with the socialist strategy of D&D. So, what do you guys think of a socialist version of D&D? I think did I get that right, Tustar?
He says, hold on a second. He tried to ask you about playing D&D.
Oh, about playing day. Well, I don't. I haven't played since I was a teenager, and that's shit. I'm old. I feel old now.
I never played it myself, so
thank God I'm not the only one.
Yeah. Derek, do you play it?
I have not. No, and thank God I'm not the only one who hasn't. I think that if I had played it back in my youth, or even if I were to play it now, I think I would enjoy it.
It's not a bad game.
I never have played it, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I mean, really, if you get the right people in your circle and you have the right DM, this is what I remember, and that actually knows how to tell the story and create the scenarios, you can have a really, really fun game. So, but
I mean, I'm open to giving it a shot.
I think my wife might divorce me if I do.
I got too much on my plate right now as well, so to jump into to give a life to D&D, but it maybe down the road if I find some time.
Yeah, whenever we're all crypto millionaires and we have all the time, we can all have a nice crypto millionaire D&D session.
You look like the Dark Emperor, Andrew. He does look like the Dark Emperor.
Well,
so
I don't use Discord, but you can hit me up on Twitter or on X at AIConan90. Send me a message.
But thank you for joining there, Testar, and everybody else, Prax, William, Mansa. Thank you again, Derek, for jumping on. This time with Andrew involved. I know the last time you came on, it was just you and me one-on-one. So this has been awesome. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Yeah, this
So-
has been great. Thanks for having me. And again, I'm sorry I was 40 minutes late, but I
Oh,
appreciate
no,
it.
you're good.
It happens, man. It happens.
It happens. So it happens, and you got a heart from Prax, so he understands, or she. I don't want to diss anybody here. So, but
It's 2025.
It's 2025. I identify as an attack helicopter. So, but anyways, everybody, peace out. Live long and prosper. That's my nerdiness. So, there
Thanks,
you go,
guys, for
Derek.
watching. I'll see y'all
Thank
later.
you. Peace.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Pete Okerlund, and I'd like to welcome you to WCW Nitro.
You know, brother, you think you know what it takes to beat Hollywood Hogan. Watch him climb in the ring and try out the largest arms in the world. Holy stop.
You want to wrestle an inch more Ric Flair, you gotta be able to walk that out and style and profile. Woo! You really think you're ready for the spin? You really think you're ready for the Scorpion Deathlock? You think you're ready for a fatal encounter?
This is why they call me the total package. Do you have a pain threshold to withstand the torture rack? Let's find out.
Hallo, hier ist Alex Wright. Wenn ihr High-Flying Wrestling Action wollt, Spinning Sidekick, Top Turnbuckle Dropkick, dann nehmt mich. Der Sieg ist euch sicher. Versprochen.
Oh yeah! Watch the flying elbow drop off the top rope. Not only beat people 1, 2, 3, but I hurt him real bad. It only takes one of 1,000 holds. You think you're man enough for the challenge?
You better be ready to wrestle, because you know, when you get in the ring with Eddie Guerrero, it's going to be high-flying and exciting.
Hey, anytime you feel foggy, man, I'll slap on the buzz killer and rip your shoulder right out of socket. Wolfpack style! Hey, funky boy. Like there's a choice here? Good God! Pick the man with the plan. Pick DDP! Hey, all you suckers out there, you wanna play the game? You wanna play with the big boy? Put your feet on the button, cause when you go down 110th Street, it's gonna be on like neck bone, sucker.
This is Booker T from Harlem Heat, hardcore OG brother from 110th Street. If any of you punks got the guts to step up to the plate, push the plate.
Yo, Chico, you selected Scott Hall? Get ready for a wild ride on the outside. Hey there! How'd you like to get power bomb? Come on, thank you. I'm begging you, big
You think you got the courage to step in the ring? I think you're gonna wind up with a snap neck with a choke slam.
Technical wrestler, high flyer, brawler. It don't matter what you consider yourself to be. When you're in the ring with the crippler, you're a loser.